Good evening, friends. Thank you for checking out this episode of the Gabriel Speaks Podcast. Don't forget, if this is your first time here, like and subscribe. That really helps the algo, helps spread the word more. Tonight, we are getting into part 11 of these Epstein files. Man, time just flies, doesn't it? So glad you're here. I think this is an important episode. And I think that after 10 and a half episodes of covering this stuff, I'm starting to get kind of a broader picture and seeing kind of what happened here. A lot of it starts with the lack of enforcement. When you let somebody get away with something for so long, they're just going to keep pushing it. And I think that was the case with Epstein. I mean, the charges that Jeffrey Epstein faced in Florida would put a regular Joe like you and I away for who knows. I mean, lock him up and throw away the key. Mr. Epstein, on the other hand, gets a very, very favorable sentence, if you will, where he's serving, I think, 6 months, but that whole time he's able to leave for up to 12 hours a day. He's able to go to his residence. He's able to go to his work office. He's able to have visitors during this time. So not what someone would call a punishment or a hard jail time. When you think of jail time, usually you don't get to leave for 12 hours a day. That's not typically how it works in prison. Excuse me, y'all, got some yelling going on. That's what happens when we got a little one in the house, right? So my apologies if you hear my little one screaming. So this episode, we're going to get into the deal that was made, the sweetheart deal. You've heard it time and time again. He got a sweetheart deal. He got a sweetheart deal. Well, we're going to break down, like, what does that mean? Why are they calling it a sweetheart deal? How is this different from other people that may have been facing the same types of charges? Because, again, if you are in prison and allowed to leave, county jail, and allowed to leave for up to 12 hours a day, are you really in county jail lockup? I don't think so.
Attorney who gave
so we're going to take a look at some video here. And this was just recent, just a couple weeks ago, because Alex Acosta did have to go in front of a House committee and answer for his quote-unquote poor judgment on this case. And we're going to talk about just how poor that was here in a moment.
Former U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that controversial sweetheart plea deal back in 2008 was on Capitol Hill tonight. Alex Acosta is his name. You may remember him also because he worked in the first Trump administration as the labor secretary for a while. He just finished up his closed-door testimony before the House Oversight Committee.
So once again, we another guy that was in the cabinet, in the White House cabinet, that also is somehow tied to this Epstein thing. Oh, looks like we're having some.
Answer another question afterwards, okay?
Testimony before the.
My apologies. You always seem to be having some technical issues. We lost sound, but essentially that was Alex Acosta trying to answer for why he handled things the way he did in Florida. Let's see if it'll play correctly this time.
House Oversight Committee.
Nope, still audio issues. That's okay. So
Answer another question.
Now, that's not Alex Acosta. I know. That's Les Wexner. And that's Les Wexner's attorney telling him, I will fucking kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words. Pretty incredible stuff. Of course, we know Wexler. Without Wexler, there may not have been. There still would have been Epstein, but he may not have had the power and reach without Wexner, which is another interesting story when you watch that Wexler testimony, how they supposedly met. Seemed like just kind of some random meeting where they met each other, but who knows? It may have been plotted on the other side.
5 words, okay.
Answer the question. Okay.
Now, all these people around him that see these things going on and hear the rumors and don't say anything about it, you are part of the problem. You're not as bad as the people committing the crime. But if you are okay with it and you don't say anything, you're a part of the problem. This is behavior that is not okay in any way, shape, or form. I think we all know that. Okay, so we're going to get into, this is the date that Epstein was arrested, and everybody starts kind of hitting the panic button.
A Florida grand jury, that is, a grand jury convened by the district attorney of Palm Beach County, had charged Epstein with the lesser offense. At that time, the Epstein legal team was elated. He would have avoided prison altogether. But then the United States Attorney's Office in Miami became involved. This matter started as a state matter. It was prosecuted initially by the state of Florida and not by the U.S. Attorney's Office. In 2006, a grand jury convened by the state attorney, the district attorney of Palm Beach County, reviewed the evidence and recommended a single charge. And that charge...
This is such bullshit and such a misrepresentation of what was going on at that time, y'all. That was a straight lie. At that time, okay, not after he was arrested, they were starting to investigate him in 2001. The FBI was building a case. They had a 53-page federal indictment. Charges included multiple victims, human trafficking, so on and so forth. And because Mr. Acosta stepped in and created this deal with his department that really didn't have any business stepping in, the state charges that he brought ended the federal investigation. So he ended the federal investigation and also managed to give Epstein the most ridiculous deal ever. No federal charges. He pled guilty to prostitution. These were kids. These weren't grown women prostituting themselves. These were kids they had manipulated into getting to his house so he could pay them cash to do what he wanted. And on top of all of that, on top of everything else, they didn't even notify the victims. As a victim of a crime like this, you're supposed to have a voice. You're supposed to have a say. And in this case, Alex Acosta just simply did not afford them that courtesy, that right, because it is a right. Made this deal, negotiated the deal, never once contacted the victims. The victims found out about the deal in the news like the rest of us. So Mr. Acosta coming forward and saying, oh, they were going to let him go with no jail time. No, sir. That is simply not true. And you would know that doing what you do at your level. What Alex Acosta did was step in and bail Jeffrey Epstein out in Florida, allowing him to continue with the same behavior, harming more innocent children. That is who Alex Acosta is. Unbelievable. Sure makes you wonder sometimes about these people.
Simply put, the Palm Beach State Attorney's Office was ready to let Epstein walk free. No jail time, nothing.
A lawyer who represents more than 200 Epstein victims says a key to the case is actually what was not in that grand jury report.
I would say the grand jury was presented 1/1000th of the information they should have received, and they received it in a tone and tenor that was designed to give a positive outcome for Jeffrey Epstein. And how many children they could have saved if they just would have done the right thing back then?
If they just would have done the right thing back then, how many children could they have saved? Alex Acosta, his defense is consistently that the grand jury was going to cut him loose with no jail time. And so they needed to step in, even if he would be facing lesser charges, with which he did, and he was not in jail 12 hours a day, which he was. He stepped in, gave him this deal, thereby closing down the other investigations that were going on into him. On top of that, if you go through the actual grand jury hearing paperwork, it's about 150 pages, and you look at how some of these victims were talked to, it's unbelievable. They would approach them as if this was somehow their fault getting involved in something like this. They're children. They can make that mistake. Mr. Epstein was a grown-ass man. And he's a piece of shit, but he's a grown-ass man. The Palm Beach police office had a 13-month investigation going on into Jeffrey Epstein, and they recommended multiple felony charges. So how does that translate to a grand jury saying, well, we just think he should have one rinky-dink charge and not serve any jail time? No, sir. And here you see it. This was a report that was done a couple years ago on that '08 trial where the actual prosecutors were almost slut-shaming the victims. It is not their fault. It's like blaming a little kid for falling and bumping their head. The police in Palm Beach County all identified 30 to 40 victims. 2 were able to speak at the grand jury hearing. This was all rigged. All of it. So Epstein would get in the minimal amount of trouble. Oh, wow. We're having a lot of audio issues here. My apologies, y'all. So, This is more of the hearing, and essentially what the Congresswoman was asking Mr. Acosta here was to explain himself. Why he let this pissant get away with such little time. And again, he falls back on the grand jury wasn't even going to give him a sentence that would require he spend a day in jail. Well, you know what? If it takes another month or two to put the bastard away for life, then okay. What are we doing here? And when the Department of Justice did a review on how Alex Acosta handled this case, the only critical thing they said was he exercised poor judgment. Poor judgment of what? When? It's unbelievable. And then here he's actually the labor secretary for Donald Trump from 2017 to 2019. And when the Epstein files start coming out, start being released, and people start asking more questions about how did this son of a bitch get out of it in Florida to begin with, Mr. Acosta's name comes up quite a bit because it turns out he's the one that stepped in and again assisted Jeffrey Epstein in not getting any federal charges. In my opinion, he's just as bad as Epstein. Because if you're willing to help these people get away with that crime, you might as well be committing that crime in my book. That's just how I look at it. You are a piece of shit. So again, I apologize for the audio issues, y'all. I'm hoping by the next video. Here we go.
CBS News special report.
So again, that was Epstein. That was Acosta trying to explain to the House representative there that he did what he did once again because the grand jury was not going to give Mr. Epstein any significant time or any significant charges, which now we can see they withheld evidence from the grand jury. So if you're withholding evidence from the grand jury, then yeah, you're probably not going to get the arrest warrant that you want.
I'm Anthony Mason in New York. President Trump announced a few minutes ago that his labor secretary, Alex Acosta, is stepping down.
He made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But
former U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that controversial sweetheart plea deal back in 2008 was on Capitol Hill tonight. Alex Acosta is his name. You may remember him also because he worked in the first Trump administration as the labor secretary for a while. He just finished up his closed-door testimony before the House Oversight Committee.
I've testified for 6 hours. I'll let the record speak for itself.
Okay, well, just to remind everybody, why is Alex Acosta important here? Well, because of that plea deal that he made, Epstein served only 13 months in a county jail when he had to register as a sex offender. He was allowed to leave almost every day for 12 hours a day. And it is important to emphasize that when you think about the context here of what he had done, to think about the abuse that such a deal could have knowingly allowed even while he was, quote unquote, serving his time. And that deal also gave Epstein and any potential co-conspirators immunity from further federal prosecution.
I don't know anybody facing those kinds of charges that would get that kind of a deal. That is absolutely insane. 13 months, county jail, but you can be absent for 12 hours every day, and he was. You can just not be in jail 12 hours a day, and it still counts as you being in jail. That's insane. And then the charges he gets are not even federal charges. They're state, local charges. So he flies over to his place in New Mexico. He's not a registered sex offender. These are people with very high level positions that have a lot of power and how our country moves. And it's scary seeing people like this in charge. Absolute zero backbone. None. Why do you think Trump just rolls over them all? Because they don't stand for anything. They stand for, give me more. Give me. And maybe I'll get that deal done for you. It's insanity. So amongst all of that, because all the Epstein stuff is coming out in 2019, Alex Acosta decides to resign. And here's his resignation with Trump.
I have seen coverage of this case that is over 12 years old, that has input and vetting at multiple levels of the Department of Justice. And as I look forward, I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today.
Well, how about the president being in there 40,000 times? There's really no way they're not going to be able to have to deal with that one, right? So he resigns, right? Because clearly that was some bullshit that he did down in Florida. And again, all the Department of Justice said was, bad boy, use bad judgment. Try not to do it again.
Details tonight on a newly uncovered police investigation into Jeffrey Epstein years before the case exploded publicly. The Epstein Files revealing West Palm and Palm Beach police first looked into Epstein 4 years earlier in 2001.
3 Palm Beach Atlantic students complained that Ghislaine Maxwell had recruited them on campus. The student says Ghislaine Maxwell approached her on campus and offered secretarial work, but that quickly morphed into sexual massages for $200.
The fact that federal prosecutors appear to have crafted this secret sweetheart deal for a child rapist obviously enrages moms and dads everywhere. On this particular case, will you commit to making sure that there's a full and thorough investigation into the way DOJ handled the Epstein case?
So, Senator, I will say that if I'm confirmed, I'll make sure your questions are answered on this case.
Many of the women who were clearly victims, trafficked, rape victims, had no awareness of the fact, and I think in violation of federal statute.
Now, I want you to listen to his response at the end of the senator's sentence here.
Statutes of victim notification that this non-prosecution agreement had been agreed to, and not just that Epstein and his co-conspirators were not indicted, but the rest of the investigatory matters of the department were also suspended. It seems truly bizarre.
Now, just
Yep, it does. Seems truly bizarre. Nominate me and I'll look right into it.
Grace financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges.
What we know from officials that have been briefed on what happened, he was found and appeared that he had hung himself.
This case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserved the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry, to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability.
He was a close confidant of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and a former French modeling agent facing charges of his own. Tonight, Jeam Luc Brunel is dead, found in his Paris prison cell hanged with his bedsheets, according to the Paris prosecutor's office. Maxwell's brother calls this latest death in the Epstein orbit incomprehensible.
Do you fear for your sister's safety?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Fuck your sister, dude. Your sister's a piece of shit. Incredible. Fucking incredible. These people, like, I'm speechless because I just cannot believe how evil some of these people are. It's just so beyond me sometimes. And just when, I think I have a grasp on just how bad some of these people could be, it's like they take it up a notch. So Epstein is completely tied together with Jean Luc Brunel and Daniel Said. So Jean Luc Brunel in a prison in France preparing for trial also hangs himself in his cell, just like Jeffrey Epstein. So before the case can start, before the details can start coming out, they're both dead. So guess what? We don't have to put on a show like we're actually going to prosecute them and put them in prison. So that's less evidence we have to put out there. There were a billion and one reasons that this cabal, or whatever you want to call it, wanted Epstein and Brunel completely off the board once they were busted. They can't have that. And so they're both dead now. And here's some models that worked with Jean Luc Brunel in the past, and they're going to tell you how upset they are about his passing.
What was your reaction when you heard about this suicide?
Felt nothing but slight joy. I wasn't elated, but I felt like, oh, good. And then a little bit of nonchalance, and then I got on with my day.
Well, I was thrilled to death. And I believe that it was not a suicide because I don't believe that narcissists kill themselves.
Do we have people in...
That is such a good point, and something I've found myself thinking is that, these egomaniacs, these narcissists, they don't kill themselves. They're fucking too self-involved, too selfish. I mean, they don't do it because all they care about is themselves, right? So why would they take themselves off the board since they're all they care about? So yeah, I think both Epstein and Brunel, in my opinion, were murdered inside their cells. And sometimes the complete lack of evidence because a shit investigation can be just as good as a very good investigation, because it tells us they didn't want to do it properly, and so they didn't do it properly because obviously they had things to hide. The less in the public eye, the better. That was the goal with this. Get Brunel off the board, get Epstein off the board, throw out some files but redact anybody important's name. That should get them off our back for a while. No, it's not working. They want more information. Oh, sorry, we're at war right now, guys. Yeah, bummer. We'd love to help you, but we just got more important things. Now, Lindsey Graham, this is Dr. Kathleen Sawyer, who at the time that Jeffrey Epstein died, she was a director of the federal prisons. And this is Lindsey Graham asking her, wasn't Jeffrey Epstein on suicide watch?
In custody today of this high-profile nature, have we done anything to adjust since Mr. Epstein's death?
Sir, we take every inmate's life very seriously in the Bureau of Prisons. A high-profile inmate is no more important or significant in terms of our operations than just the average inmate that comes our way.
When I mean high-profile, somebody's on a suicide watch.
I would like to explain our suicide watch system, if I may. I can't talk specifically about Epstein. Once an inmate is identified as potentially suicidal, we have a suicide watch operation that we can place them in. A stark, very difficult setting where everything is stripped from the room except a mattress. They get a coarse gown to wear that cannot be twisted in any way that they could hang themselves from it.
Now, you hear what she's describing. They have literally nothing in their cell except for one thin blanket. They have to wear this kind of unitard thing, right? To where they can't fashion any rope out of it. And that's what you do to somebody who's on suicide watch. But that picture right there, That's Jeffrey Epstein's cell. So does that look like an inmate that was on suicide watch? Doesn't look like it to me. That looks like somebody that was provided all the tools he needed to commit suicide, and they were happy for him to do it. Even though I still don't think he did it. I think someone else did.
They have one mattress and one blanket, and they are watched constantly. There's nothing else in that room.
Was Mr. Epstein on suicide watch?
Yes, he was.
Right. So again, we're supposed to be all this special monitoring, making sure they don't get specific materials that they could use to harm themselves, extra checks, a roommate in the room, all of that. And he still manages to kill himself? Yeah, that doesn't make sense even to Lindsey Graham.
However, the average time on suicide watch is only about 24 hours because it is such a stark and actually depressing situation. We then can move them to another tier of observation, which is called psychological observation.
Did that happen in this case?
I can't speak specifically, but
Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Jerry Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang themselves. That's what the American people think.
That is what the American people think. I don't know anybody that I talked to after his death that believed he killed himself. But that's not the important thing here. The important thing is all the lives that he managed to derail and ruin and intentionally cause harm, intentionally cause hurt. You can see it all throughout his emails and the way that he would talk with certain people. He liked hurting people. He liked it when people would hurt, especially when he could be the one that would inflict the emotional, probably sometimes physical damage. The important thing in this case is that these victims don't get forgotten about. Because they truly were. They were children who became victims of a disgusting, sadistic man's fetish. And I say the victims are ignored because the other part of this podcast was looking at this file, EFTA 001432887. And if you pull that file up you can pull it up on Gmail, you can pull it up on the Department of Justice Epstein website. You can pull it up there and check it out. But the 2 section, all of that you see redacted there is the 2 section. So they literally redacted everyone's name in the 2 section of this email. But what you can deduce from the topics that were covered is that these people were media contacts, legal contacts, and possibly political or public figures or both. So we're talking, everyone from Alex Acosta to President Trump and all those in between that this person felt needed to hear this message. And it is truly disturbing when again, this is another 150-page document that because of encryption, it makes it very difficult to sift through. But as you start going through the document, you start to see some things that are very, very concerning. The first thing that popped out to me was this quote right here. And I wish I could say it only came up once, but this came up a few times. And this was to Epstein and to all these powerful people. So this is a victim that is expressing this. Please don't R and murder my family. My God. Fucking crazy. Please don't R and murder my family. It's not bad enough that they would murder your family. But they could also, you know, hurt your family in that other way. How terrible. Like, why would you be afraid of something like that? But there are a dozen requests for help in this document. And some of the lines, I've posted them here. I was recruited and sold by Epstein. You have ignored this. Please don't kill my family. Please don't R and murder my family. Literally, y'all, 150 pages. Right? 150 pages. And you know what's crazy? Not a single response. Of all these people, not a single response to I was recruited and sold by Epstein. You've been ignoring me. I'm a victim. Please don't kill my family, so on and so forth. We watched Virginia Giuffre post a picture of herself, and again, I'm not going to post it because it's just so brutal, where she was literally looked like she had gotten hit by a baseball bat over the head a bunch of times. And she literally said, I'm dead. I've got a few days to live. I'm dead. And we didn't take that seriously. And Virginia Giuffre is now gone. And I think the real crime here is people that knew and ignored it. It's organizations that he was affiliated with. Yes, I'm talking to you, big school organizations, big colleges. You knew what this guy was up to. You took his money anyway. And evidence was clearly tampered with. We're seeing the tampering happen in real time, where Trump tells the FBI and the Department of Justice to flag anything with his name on it, to put that aside for review. That's tampering with evidence. I mean, I'm not trying to be on my soapbox here preaching. But I gotta tell you, if I knew something like that was happening to someone I cared about, I'd be raising hell. Literally raising hell. This document, again, this is the, you can see it down here, right? EFTA 000, I'm sorry, 20143289. I'll put that in the chat if you want to take a peek at that. That is the actual document number you can pull up. And it's terrible quality. Whether you go to Jmail or you get it right from the Department of Justice website, the quality is awful. You can tell there was encrypted messaging, so there's OCR problems with it. But you can clearly make out some of these things. Please don't kill my family to hurt. Yes, I am too going to hold you account. So it sounds like maybe some possible broken English. I'm if the assumption that it was you who started redacted to intimidate me. Okay. Cyril, you fucking snake. I knew it. When it tool ages to get redacted. See, this is strange. Why would this stuff be redacted? I want my redacted And yes, it was you who redacted. Really? I was wondering why setting Geyer at Table Mountain was never investigated. Oh, that's right. So Table Mountain, not something that I have heard a lot about, right? I've heard the Zorro Ranch. Of course, the islands. We've done extensive episodes, deep digging, almost literally talking about the tunnels on the island. But Cyril is not a name I've come across yet. And what's interesting about this chain here is that it progressively gets kind of worse and worse. Please, can someone ask blank? Actually, why has no organization come to our aid? So weird. A pedophile ring so big where children and young women, redacted, have been raped, tortured physically, and not one person has offered to assist. I'm sorry, that was kind of tough to read. That is spending billions to save our country. So this, it's a victim that is getting more and more desperate, it seems like, as the days go on. And when you go through this chain, it's almost heartbreaking because literally nobody will respond to them. Nothing. She's emailing it over and over. She's updating it, emailing it, nothing. And again, she's looped in law enforcement. She's looped in intelligence. She has looped in all kinds of people connected to and investigating this case. Most of them redacted. But the fact that this is out there and we still have 3 million documents to go. And the FBI wants us to believe that they had no actionable intelligence. Like, there are people in Europe getting arrested for this shit. Like, what is the problem? Les Wexner, his ass should be in prison. Are you kidding me? Like, what? Because these people have a lot of money, they just have different rules? I've always heard that. But to see it actually play out, it's pretty disheartening. So, yeah, this was a tough one. I wanted to get through this because we need to understand. I think it's important that people understand that this goes deeper and the reach is much farther than we believe. If someone like Jeffrey Epstein can basically buy his way out of pedophilia charges, we're in trouble. And that's exactly what happened in Palm Beach. I'm not saying Alex Acosta took money or took gifts or anything like that, but I will say he was very quickly given the job of Labor Secretary once Trump was, or Department of Labor Secretary once Trump was nominated as president. So is that some kind of weird, sick quid pro quo where Trump's like, yeah, get this reduced? And I know they had a falling out, but I still think that's all bullshit. I think a lot of it's just theater and bullshit to keep us distracted from what's important, right? And what's important are these victims being heard and having their day, because whether it was Jeffrey Epstein or he was murdered, either way, what happened took away the victim's opportunity for some kind of closure, some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of reparations. But the piece of shit couldn't even do that. And if he was murdered, well, we're talking about someone that could handle both guards that were on duty, dismantle the cameras that were pointed at his cell. They could pull the strings so that his roommate that is supposed to be there is not there, but the sticker saying he's in the room is there. And throw a shit ton of blankets and sheets and everything else he could possibly need to kill himself with. And after he doesn't do that, after you realize, oh, he's not going to do it, we're going to have to send someone in. Is that possible? I think it definitely is. And then to see Jeam Luc Brunel do the same exact thing across the pond, it's terrifying. And you heard, I fucking hate Jizzface Maxwell, but you heard her brother say, yeah, I mean, if we look at the patterns, we've seen the first brother, we've seen Epstein go, we've seen Jeam Luc Brunel go, and now could it be Ghislaine Maxwell? You know, because they say these things, terrible kind of things come in threes. I don't know, but she's right where she needs to be, and she needs to stay there in federal prison. That's for sure. In my research, I came across this group. And let me see here if I can find the name of it. It was the part of what was called the Rochdale Scandal. I believe it was in the UK. And these were gentlemen that kind of had a similar thing that Epstein had going on, but it was like, you know, much lower class. Like, they're not rich. They can't jet set and impress these underage girls and this and that and the other. So they just do the kind of low budget version of that in Britain. So I'm going to share this for just a moment while I step away for just a second. Maybe, if I'm lucky. So many tools, y'all. So many clicks. So many buttons. Okay. All right. So again, this was in the UK. This is just like a 3-4 minute video. 2.5 minutes. Kind of a summary of this Rochdale group. I'm not really sure how it's said. But I think it's interesting. And I do believe it ties in to this Epstein thing, because what we know with Epstein is he had this huge network. He had a modeling pipeline coming in for girls that he just wanted to have fun with. He also would use that same pipeline to try and find girls that would carry his baby to term and then go away. And then he had kind of other pipelines where he would keep these girls coming in, like he would offer them scholarships or some other kind of, you know, philanthropy funding of something that they're passionate about. And that's how he would get them under his thumb and start manipulating them by making them feel like they owe him something. Well, this is, I believe, kind of the low budget version of that was happening. So let's take a look at this.
Now, have you ever had sex with a white girl in your taxi?
Sex with a white girl in my taxi? No, sorry.
They've failed to answer for their actions for more than 2 decades.
Are you known as Lala Akram?
No comment.
But today, this group of 7 men were told to expect significant jail terms for abusing 2 teenage girls in Rochdale between 2001 and 2006. Market trader Mohammed Zahid, prosecutors say, was the ringleader. Nicknamed Boss Man, he plied the girls, who were known to social services, with drink, drugs and cigarettes. The court heard the abuse for one of the girls started with a car journey. Zahid, who was then in his 40s, picked up one of the victims, known as Girl A, in court on a trip to buy stock for his market stall. She was wearing her school uniform when Zahid raped her. He introduced her to a network of taxi drivers and his other victim to market traders. They were both used as sex slaves. In court, both victims spoke to the jury, one saying she could have been abused by as many as 200 men.
I just lay there and let them do what they did. I didn't know it was abuse at the time.
Last year, an independent review found they weren't alone, revealing the cases of hundreds of potential victims of Rochdale grooming gangs referred to police by social services were not acted upon between 2004 and 2012. The poor handling of those reports led former detective Maggie Oliver to leave Greater Manchester Police in 2013.
The children were judged, were blamed, were called prostitutes, that they were making a lifestyle choice, and there was no protection of them. I didn't.
Now that is exactly, almost word for word, the assessment that was given for the first Epstein charges back in 2008. The prosecutors themselves would make these girls sound like they were prostitutes. Guess what? You're not a prostitute if you're a teenager and you've been manipulated into doing this deed for quick cash. You're just a stupid kid. You're not a fucking prostitute. Are you kidding me? But it seems to be this way where these cats can kind of beat around the bush and say that's what they are. With it's saying everything but, well, you had it coming. They might as well just say it. It's crazy. It's crazy. So the thing with Alex Acosta is he's now the CEO of, Netflix or some company like that. And I don't think, like most of these people here, I don't think they're really going to face any repercussions. Which is just insane. If you look at the number of documents there are and the fucking crazy people that are in them. The fact that the Epstein Files came out and Prince Andrew got arrested. Nobody in the States. So if you're from here or not from here, it's pretty obvious, like, if you have the almighty buck, you can get out of a lot of shit. Including this garbage. Well, that's going to do it for this one, y'all. I just wanted to get on record the Alex Acosta segment because I think we need to be clear here. Had Alex Acosta done his job from the beginning, it's possible that a lot of this would have never, ever happened. It's very possible. Crazy kittens, y'all. Breaking down my doors. Oh, man, what a great night. Hey, thank you all for hanging out. I know it's kind of a shorter space, but like I was saying, I just want to get the Acosta thing on record. I wanted to get that file number on record and share that with you all because I think that's an important file. I think down the road, we might get some clarity on that file that might provide a lot more context. But it is one of the more concerning files of all the Epstein file dumps. Very, very concerning. All right. Well, I will see y'all next time. Hopefully we'll get Flak Magnet back to continue our Epstein series. And I should be having a UFO news update coming out soon as well. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for hanging on this late night episode of the Gabriel Speaks podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.